You're listening to the Kilcullen Diary Podcasts, stories in sound from a village grown bigger. Hello, I'm Brian Byrne and this is Kilcullen Diary. This is the third episode in a series called The Accidental Pilgrim, recalling my thoughts during a Kilcullen Parish pilgrimage to the Holy Land in 2007. Even though I'm not a religious person, the trip still resonates after a decade and a half. In this episode, I muse on the Jordan effect, and then we move on to Mount Tabor, the place of the Transfiguration where Jesus is said to have revealed himself in his true divinity to Peter, James, and John. With most of its length acting as the border between Israel and its neighbours Syria and Jordan, the River Jordan has tremendous symbolic significance. A very practical one too, as it is the water lifeline for the three countries. Politics and country names may have been different in the time of Jesus, but there is little doubt that the river had just as much symbolism then, which probably accounts for a man named John the Baptist using it to wash people clean of their past sins and inducting them into a new life of promise. As Father Murphy noted during our visit to a managed baptismal site at Yardenet, Jesus had to search for the meaning of life just like the rest of us. It wasn't handed to him on a plate, he said. He had to struggle, to deal with temptations while trying to find out what he had to do. Presenting himself to John to be baptized was the indication that he was about to do so. It was the turning point, the beginning of his short 3 years of ministry among the most oppressed people of his time. He went to Jerusalem as part of this, Father Murphy added, and because of what he was about, he came to a bad end. The baptismal point on this trip is about 100 kilometres north of where that actual baptism of Jesus probably took place. But subsequent to Christ's death, there were many such places where the disciples symbolically brought new followers into the new religion. On our visit, as probably every morning, there were coachloads of people from all over the world visiting this particular place on their journey through the fifth gospel, the name given to the land on which the life and times of Jesus is based. Some dipped their toes in the water, which didn't look too clean. Others paddled. One woman totally immersed herself. Our group simply renewed the promises made on our behalf at our own baptisms and went on our way. In the ubiquitous gift shop on the way out, the equally ever-present commercialism was reflected in the sign that said, "Baptism kits for rent, $9. But I suppose they gave offerings to John too. The man had to live, after all. The plain of Jezreel, also known as Armageddon, is on the only valley which runs east-west in the region, and it became the main route to the southwestern limits of the Roman Empire and to the trading centres beyond Damascus. Our guide, Abi, had a typically Jewish attitude to fortune. When times are good, you can enjoy the fruits of that situation, but when you're on the flux point of trade and travel, you'll also find that eventually you'll be destroyed, as others, usually outside powers, fight their wars on your territory. Thus, the plain and the Dome Mountain which dominates it has been a place of battle, conquest and defeat, as well as trade since time immemorial. The top has been a place for fortresses and sanctuaries on and off for thousands of years. Today, it's a key location of Christian pilgrimage. As a Holy Land site, Mount Tabor has become the reputed place of the Transfiguration story, where Jesus went up a mountain with Peter, James and John just before his last days on earth. There, the story goes, his face and clothing became transformed, and he revealed to them his divine origin. It's also said that Moses and Elijah appeared and talked to Jesus. Up to now, as Jesus went about his work, it had become increasingly apparent that there was more to him than met the eye, Father Murphy told us Kilcullen pilgrims. The miracles that were happening, for instance, were all leading up to the moment we're here for. What actually happened at that moment remains a mystery, Father Michael continued, something in that mysterious zone of aspects of our existence that are beyond what we can see, hear, or know. But what we do know is that it was about the divinity of Jesus. That it was an event beyond the understanding of his friends is made clear from the account in St. Luke's Gospel, which notes that they went down from the mountain and in those days told no one what they had seen. Even from the vantage point of a strategic mountain, you can't expect to understand everything. But also, given what happened to their leader in the subsequent days, it wouldn't have been in the interests of their personal survival to talk loudly about unearthly light on a mountaintop. Some close encounters can be too close for comfort. I'm Brian Byrne. This is Kilcullen Diary. Thanks for listening.